strange story that I'm going to be using today. But I believe that this story, it depicts and it shows, it solidifies what a good mother really is. And how a good mother will sacrifice her life for her young ones. And when I think about motherhood, and I think about my own mother, and how my mother put her dreams, her aspirations on pause, just so that she could rear her children. And I personally believe my mom did a fabulous job. In fact, I miss her even to this day. But I truly thank God for mother. Look at what it says. I'm going to be starting from verse 16. It says, 1 Kings, 3rd chapter, verse 16, it says, "Then came there 2 women that were harlots unto the king, and stood before him. And the one woman said, O my Lord, I and this woman dwelled in one house, and I was delivered of a child with her in the house. And it came to pass the 3rd day after that, I was delivered, that this woman was delivered also. And we were together. There were no strangers with us in the house, save we 2 in the house. And this woman's child died in the night, because she overlaid it. And she arose at midnight and took my son from beside me, while thine handmaid slept, and laid it in her bosom, and laid her dead child in my bosom. And when I rose in the morning to give my child suck, behold, it was dead. But when I had considered it in the morning, behold, it was not my son, which I did bear. And the other woman said, Nay, but the living is my son, and the dead is thy son. And this said, No, but the dead is thy son, and the living is my son. Thus they spake before the king. Then said the king, the one said, This is my son that liveth, and the son is the dead. And the other said, Nay, but the son is the dead, and my son is the living. And the king said, Bring me a sword. And they brought a sword before the king. And the king said, Divide the living child in 2, and give half to the one and half to the other. Then spake the woman, who the living child was unto the king, for her bowels yearned upon the son. And she said, O my king, give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. But the other said, Let it be neither mine nor thine, but divided. Then the king answered and said, Give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. She is the mother thereof. And all Israel heard of the judgment which the king had judged, and they feared the king, for they saw that the wisdom of God was in him to do judgment. And the church say amen.
Amen.
A good mother, as this woman was. Here, these 2 women are in a house together. And 3 days apart from each other, they both had a son. But now, the one who laid over on her son and caused him to die, she conspired within herself and got up at midnight and took her dead son and put it in the bosom of the woman who had the living son, and took the living son and took it and put it in her bosom. So in the morning, when the other woman who had the living son woke up, she would discover that the child that she had was dead. One thing about a mother knows her child.
All right now.
Think about it. Both of them, these babies was only 3 days apart. But that mother knew that that was not her child. They had to have been basically about the same height, same length. I dare to believe, because of their ethnicity, they was probably the same complexion. Most babies are born either bald or with some little bit of hair. But nevertheless, this woman was assured in her spirit, this is not my child. Isn't it just like God? God knows his children. He knows his children. He knows who is and who ain't. So the woman stands before the king, both of them, and she begins to petition and tell the king what this woman did. And when the king, with the wisdom that God has imputed in him to judge this particular event, he decided to use, I call it reverse psychology. And so what he says, well, I tell you what, somebody bring me a sword. And let's just divide, since it's two, let's just divide it, give one half and the other half. Well, the true mother, the real mother, would never allow her son to be killed. That mother would do everything in her power to make sure that that child lived, even if it meant that the child would live a life apart from her. Isn't that just like God? Look at the life that God has given us. Even when we said no to God, to his will, he still allowed you and I to reach the age that we have, giving us an opportunity. Even though he knew that we would be apart from him, as we all were at some point in time in our life. We were aliens according to God. We weren't living according to his statutes. We were not doing the things that we are doing today. But nevertheless, God allowed us to live. Why? Because he knew that he was our parent. We are his children. The Bible says that God said, Jesus said to his father, he says, Lord, pass not judgment upon them. He says, let me judge them, those that thine have given unto me. And if they reject me, then I will judge them. And you need to understand, God gives us an opportunity to come back to him, because he is our parent. I think about it in the Garden of Gethsemane when he prayed to his father. He says, I pray not for the world, but I pray for those that thine have given unto me. My God,